Barkas was a man who detested unnecessary attention. He raised a hand to stop the servant who had been about to announce his arrival, and with a quiet, practiced dignity, he began to descend the stairs. Yet, despite his efforts to remain unobtrusive, every eye in the hall was drawn to him. Even the presence of the crown prince seemed to pale in the shadow of Barkas's entrance. Talia watched him, her gaze traveling hungrily from his head to his toes. He was, as always, impeccably dressed in the uniform of the Imperial Guard. But today, beneath the mantle of his order, he did not wear the customary golden plate of the Roem Knights. Instead, he wore a cuirass of blackened steel, emblazoned with the coat of arms of the Black Horse. It was a statement. He had come not as a mere guard, but as the heir of House Siorcan and the fiancé of Princess Ayla. As Talia had expected, Barkas headed straight for the center of the hall where Gareth and Ayla stood. "Greetings, Your Highness," he said, offering Gareth a measured bow, one that held neither excessive deference nor insolence. Then, he turned to Ayla, who was smiling at him with a soft, demure radiance. Talia's fingertips began to tremble. She gripped her silver goblet so hard her knuckles turned white, the metal biting into her palms. When Barkas extended his hand to the rightful princess, and Ayla modestly placed her own within it, a sharp, white-hot pain lanced through Talia. Her insides twisted into a jagged knot. "Don't touch her. Don't you dare lay a hand on him." She wanted to scream the words, but she had no right. She bit her lip until the metallic tang of blood filled her mouth, desperate to hide her agony from the vultures surrounding her. "Perhaps it would be best for you to leave the hall, Your Highness," the man at her side suggested, his voice uncomfortably sober. Count Syrian's words acted like a splash of cold water. Talia remembered that she hadn't come here to slink away like a beaten cur. Instantly schooling her expression and smoothing the tremors from her limbs, she began to cross the hall. The crowd surrounding the crown prince and the future Duke of Siorcan parted like a receding tide, clearing a path for her. They were hungry for a spectacle, and Talia had no intention of disappointing them. "Greetings, dear brother. And dear sister." Deliberately ignoring Barkas, she offered a slow, mocking bow to her siblings. She knew that if she met his gaze now, the last of her self-control would crumble. Keeping her back to him, she focused entirely on Ayla. "I am so glad to see you have regained your health," Talia said, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "After all, last time we spoke, you weren't looking your best." "Thank you for your concern," Ayla replied, her smile remained gentle and devoid of any trace of malice. Talia felt a phantom chill crawl across her skin. Ayla had to know. She had to know it was her stepsister who had slipped the emetic into her wine. Yet, there wasn't even a flicker of anger in her emerald eyes, only a cold, hollow indifference. She looked at Talia as if she were a common household object, a plate or a candlestick that happened to be in her way. How can she not be angry? There was something so maddeningly serene about Ayla's composure that Talia felt a sudden, sharp pang of regret. I shouldn't have used a mere emetic. I should have used a lethal poison. Even if it meant my own execution. Even if I had to burn in the pits of hell for eternity. Compared to Ayla's icy detachment, even Gareth's hot-tempered rage felt human. "How dare you show your face here?" Gareth growled, looming over her. His eyes swept over her with visceral disgust. "And in such a vulgar display. Did your mother order you to come here and seduce my subjects like the common whore she is?" "Vulgar?" Talia replied, her voice light and defiant as she smoothed the scarlet folds of her gown. "How very rude. My mother wore this dress the day she first appeared before His Majesty. A symbolic choice, don't you think?" A dead silence fell over the hall. Fury flared in the crown prince's eyes, but Talia had always enjoyed playing with fire. "Our father certainly seemed to appreciate it. Don't you agree?" Gareth's shoulders bunched as he fought the urge to strike her. But his sister was far too calculating to allow such a scene. At just the right moment, Ayla placed a calming hand on his forearm and turned back to Talia with that same unshakable smile. Yes. It suits you well. There wasn't a drop of anger in Ayla's voice. She spoke as if stating a simple, uninteresting fact. And that was what infuriated Talia the most. It was as if Ayla truly believed it was beneath her dignity to even acknowledge a bastard's provocations. Ayla gave her twin brother a meaningful look, a silent plea for restraint, before turning her attention back to her fiancé. She leaned in toward him, her face beaming with a curated happiness. In any case, thank you for coming, Talia. Today is a very important day for us. Especially for me. I wanted as many people as possible to witness our joy. Her fragile, pale hand came to rest on Barkas's arm. Talia stared at that hand, imagining what it would feel like. To tear it to shreds. She didn't dare look up. She knew that if she saw Barkas smiling at Ayla, she would lose her mind. The date for our wedding has finally been set, Ayla continued, her voice soft as falling feathers. When the season of winds begins, I will depart for the east to join the Siorcan clan. Of course, I must first complete my pilgrimage to receive the blessings of the elders. We must hurry before the heat becomes unbearable. Ayla let out a soft, practiced sigh of regret. It may be that this is the last time we see each other. I am glad we could have this final goodbye before I leave the palace. Then, signaling that the conversation was over, she let her head tilt slightly toward Barkas's shoulder. I hope you enjoy today's celebration. It is, after all, in our honor. Ayla began to turn away with a condescending smile, but Talia found her voice before she could go. Since this is to be our final meeting, I truly wish to offer you a blessing for your future, sister. As Talia stepped forward, the man who had been watching the silent war between the two women moved instantly. Barkas held out his hand, positioning himself to shield his bride. The world before Talia's eyes blurred into a scarlet haze. Before Barkas could fully block her path, Talia moved with a sudden, violent grace. She jerked her hand, splashing the ruby-red wine directly onto Ayla's chest. The dark liquid bloomed across the snow-white fabric, staining the pearls and silk. It trickled down the bodice and pooled in the folds of the skirt, looking for all the world like blood gushing from a pierced heart. I will pray every day that such a fate befalls you, sister, Talia hissed. A collective gasp went up from the crowd. The words weren't a blessing, they were a terrifying curse. Even Ayla, who had been a pillar of cold dignity, turned deathly pale. Her face contorted with a flicker of genuine fear, and Talia felt a bubble of hysterical laughter rising in her throat. She looked so ridiculous. But the amusement was cut short. A powerful hand clamped onto Talia's wrist, jerking her toward him with bone-snapping force. Talia found herself face to face with the man she had been so desperate to avoid. Barkas stared down at her, his pale blue eyes burning with an icy, lethal rage.